Back to Men of the Mississippi, Chapter 6. The river is a museum, and this has got so many cool illustrations in it. We'll try to look at them a little more closely as we read. We left poor Min with her tail caught between, or her mouth had just bit into the tail of the puppy dog. Min quickly let go of the hound pup's tail and rolled downhill to the trout stream where she fed greedily. The next summer, Cloudbush washed her back to the Mississippi again. With larger body and stronger rear legs, she still was no match for this youthful river. Four-legged snappers might bottom walk upstream in spring migration, but not Min. She had to rest in shallows near shore for now. Her river grew rougher. It scooted her through a rocky gorge while it split itself on an island, rejoined itself guzzling new rivers such as the Crow Wing, which doubled in size, whooping it bowled men over boulders and frothing rapids. For 2 years she sought rest from the brawling river by exploring the mouths of placid streams running into it, but she was always returning to the Mississippi. Glaciers had spread clay, gravel, and big stones across the Northland. Min found rivers running on boulder beds. She might dig in clay, sand, or muck, but she found boulders beneath. She entered cuts in solid granite and sea-laid stone, ground out by swirling water with gravel and sand. The larger boulders were smashed and worn by grinding. They became smaller boulders, more gravel and sand. Thus granite stones kept rushing rivers from digging deeper. Min's Mississippi, though it cut gorges now and then, was here mainly a surface flowing on top river. Men liked to smell the new streams as they joined the river. Some raced from far forests tawny with wood mold, holding a bittersweet tang of timber and roots. Some crawled from flat prairies scented with lush green plants. Marshy creeks smelled and tasted of muck. Rock streams brought odors of granite, shale, or limestone. There was strong taste of copper and iron in the fresh North Wilderness River. Towns added new scents. Men whiffed the pungent essence of sawdust from lumbering towns. Country towns provided apples, tomatoes, cabbage leaf leftovers. When currents smoked with such tempting aromas, men hunted them down. But when chemical wastes were some factory's smarter eyes, Min was worried. She hunted and held the forest-scented channels where chemicals were weakest. Min saw mile after mile of charred logs on the river bottom. To her, they were as natural as boulders. If she had been human, they would have told a sad story. For ages, northern forests protected their floors with mats of wood and mold. Each autumn, dead leaves drifted. Winter winds heaped the fallen limbs. Each spring found old trees toppled, crisscrossed, decaying under fern and mosses. Thus dank sponges held the rains, dribbling cool waters so that the streams flowed steadily, even in summer. Indian tribes lived and died, changing the forest no more than its flickering shadows. Because woodland animals provided rich furs, white traders and trappers who came next did not destroy forests. Then other men came. Axes and saws toppled the great trees down. Mississippi turtles found their river churning with logs from sawmills. Crows sewed over log rafts drifting with the current or pushed by steamboats, twisted in serpents of logs, sometimes 3 city blocks long. Northern logs furnished lumber, badly needed for a nation's building. But in the wild days, lumbering was wasteful. It was cut and run, leaving miles of slashing, heaped up piles of branches, tender young saplings uprooted. Here fires started, devouring forest, gulped towns and hundreds of people. Game perished, birds fell dead from the sky, blackened stumps were tombstones and vast graveyards of ashes. Even the ancient forest sponge was seared away. New generations thought it only natural that northern streams should rage in spring and dwindle in summer. Farmers came to the north. Crops were coaxed from cut and burned lands, and cowbells tinkled merrily across the blueberry barrens. Children played in the fields fenced by rows of blackened dragon-tooth stumps. Slowly, young birch trees raised through their white poles on sawdust mounds where hungry mills had stood. Stretches of old forest, missed by axe and fire, spread across hills. Children grew, went away to college, and returned with new wisdom and new words. Conservation. They replanted wasted woodlands. Then they cut old trees for timber, and they planted new trees. They built dams, restocked water with fish, brushlands with game birds, protected game. People had grown up in a wasteland, gave their grandchildren lakes and streams, churning with fish again, and wide green forests in which to play. Minn, thought descended from one of the oldest, crustiest families on the river, knew nothing of the past. However, she lived in a museum corridor 2,500 miles long. She walked along a vast collection of American specimens, from ancient rocks and fossils to tin cans, airplane parts, and bottle tops. Minn paused often beside a heap of laid-out museum treasures, wondering if they held food or whether she might rest there. The land donated many specimens in this river. Museum for Geology, Botany, and Zoology departments. The zoology departments held many bones. Some were bones of mice recently eaten by owls. There were bison bones from days remembered by the oldest buffalo hunters. There were fossil mastodon skulls from glacial past when elephants roamed America. And there was also an anthropological specimen, objects man had made. The latest were strewn on the floor under covers of silt, air guns, shoes, marbles, rubber tire, bicycle shapes of metal. Now forgotten or useless to the world of air, they were refuges for countless water creatures. Because cities held people who threw things at turtles, Minn often went below. She walked on museum deposits before reaching a town, but larger hordes lay downstream, pushed there by currents. When Minn came to the large treasure heap, she knew it was safe to surface. The town lay upstream. Sprawling recently on one bank or both, it puffed, tooted, clashed its noisy importance. Minn, very hard of hearing, could feel its vibration. But she viewed all towns in a reserved, thoughtful manner. Like a sober scientist weighed down with problems, she'd walk among the shapeless monuments to the past. Minn found flint points, copper axes, pewter mugs, flintlock rifles, and even an old-fashioned wood-burning locomotive. While passing one day through assorted specimens, Minn felt heavy vibration. Frothy rapids tumbled her past high buildings with glossy eyes. She didn't know she was coming to the end of her on-top river, where it slid off the highest shelf in its entire length and dropped below. Minn did not know the falls were ahead. Chapter 6.